Welcome back. You're watching Media Week. Well, Fairfax Metro Media has combined its different publications covering food and wine into a one-stop offering for advertisers. So to tell us a bit more about this, we're joined by Lisa Hudson, the General Manager of Food and Wine at Fairfax Metro Media. Lisa, great to see you. Thanks for coming on. Just firstly, why has it been so important, do you think, for Fairfax to invest in expanding the food and wine coverage?
Well, we've long been the authority on food and wine in Australia. I mean, we've got some wonderful products across the country. Probably our best known are our print products in our leading mastheads, The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald. And then we've got our good food guides that have really been the Bible to eating out for about 30 years. But we've never before been able to bring them together under one umbrella brand, and we've called that Good Food. And we've never before been able to offer our advertisers one fully integrated multi-platform offering. And so I guess we see this as a real opportunity to kind of leverage that very passionate audience that we already have and to grow that, and also to grow our revenue.
Actually, James, if I could just ask you a question too about this whole sector as well, because it is a very interesting sector, isn't it? And a segment of the market category. Food is competitive and quite a crowded space.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of food magazines out there now in the news age as you go, and we've had lots of people on. It's been one of the few areas of magazine publishing where there's been some significant sort of launches. We've seen that Feast from Pacific. We've had people in here from News Life Media. I've talked a lot of Delicious, done a lot recently, and they've got that big taste offering online, which sort of groups all their stuff together. And I think this is probably a little bit of a reaction to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Lisa, so tell us about the size exactly of the offering and just how many different, I guess, sites are involved.
It's quite vast. I mean, we already reach 3.6 million people every week, and that's across our existing assets, include things like the print sections that I mentioned, Good Food and Epicure, and they're available on our tablet apps. Then we have our mobile apps, our Good Food Guide books that have expanded out to include cafes and pubs and bars, and our events. You know, we run a lot of events every year. In fact, nearly 900,000 people will attend a Fairfax Food and Wine event this year, so they are huge too. And then we have our existing online sites as well. So I think it's important to note as well that, you know, we do reach this vast audience. We do own the high end of that food and wine audience, but we also reach well into the mainstream. So, you know, our reach in that middle ground is extremely high as well. So whilst our audience are quite, you know, knowledgeable and they're very passionate, they're really highly engaged and they're affluent, they're not elite. You know, they're people like you and I who are popping into the supermarket after work to pick up, you know, a quick dinner, equally as they would be choosing a big kind of three-hat restaurant for the big night out next week. So I think they're discerning and they rely on us to help them make those choices. But it might be, you know, the best tub of yogurt in the supermarket, you know, as much as the 12-course banquet. So.
Just on that, I mentioned to Bridie then the sort of success magazine publishers seem to be having in that food category. Is there some advertising out there that you maybe have identified that you guys could be getting because you've got assets just as exciting as where they're spending their money now?
Absolutely, James. I mean, I think, you know, food's booming in Australia, as you know. You know, it's a really, you know, it's a really hot subject, pardon the pun, but it's, you know, there's never been a better time really for us to be expanding our food and wine assets. And I think there are definitely advertisers that are choosing magazines that we'll be targeting. We already get a lot of that advertising now, and more will come as we continue to roll out the network. But I think it's also important to note that our readers are quite an exclusive audience. You know, a lot of our readers simply don't read consumer magazines, so, you know, for advertisers it's a great opportunity to reach those people.
We were just seeing there as well the offerings for The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald on the Tuesday, and how they're slightly different but similar. Why did you decide to rebrand one, keep the other, but they're sort of similar?
Excuse me. Well, with Good Living, we want to pull as many assets under the Good Food brand as we can. With Good Living, we thought it was quite an easy transition for our readers to move from Good Living to Good Food. The other thing about Good Living is, you know, it's been around for a couple of decades, and that name was chosen at a time when we used to include fashion and home renovations and travel. We're now very much food and wine. You know, we're proudly food and wine, and so we thought that Good Food you know, was a more accurate representation of that. With Epicure, the brand loyalty in Melbourne is so strong to Epicure that we thought, well, let's keep the name Epicure. People love it, and that's good. But we've just added our Good Food umbrella brand to the masthead so that it's firmly connected to the rest of our assets.
Is there anything yet to come? Because we've good to see you doing a lot in print. Is there any sort of parts of the Food and Wine Network yet to be rolled out?
Yes, definitely. The really exciting thing is that we're launching a major website in late November, early December. So when we looked at our offering, we could see that there was one slight gap, and that was for one great big website. It'll be Australia's most comprehensive website at launch. It's a destination where we can pull together all of our content from around the country in one place as a kind of one-stop shop, if you like, for everything people need, whether it be, a restaurant to choose to go out, or recipes to cook that night, or food news, or wine. So it's going to be the destination for lovers of food and wine in Australia at launch. It will have 4 main pillars. So as I mentioned, the restaurant reviews, wine reviews, recipes and news.
All right, Lisa, great to hear about it. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
All right, let's just turn now to some other news, certainly in the print space. And we've had some news, James, this week. Charlotte Dawson's actually going to take some legal action against the Herald Sun. What do you make of this? I mean, historically, does she sort of have a...
Yeah, she usually follows through with the legal threats.
Right.
This was the aftermath of the footy fashion police, I think we've talked about. Said I didn't mind the show. It was created a lot of controversy, especially in Melbourne, of course, which is part of what they wanted, I guess, to be sort of outspoken. But yeah, Charlotte, she's been a successful litigant before. No one likes to take legal action. She actually, I think she's sued ACP in Australia while she was working for them in New Zealand. So, she doesn't hold back.
Oh, that's it. Just also as well, another interesting piece of news, magazines are now going to be available on Google Play.
Yeah, absolutely. The major publishers just announced on Thursday this week Google Play. So if you've got an Android phone or an Android tablet, you can get in there. I think you can take single issues, or you can get subscriptions. I think ACP's there, Pacific's there, News Life Media. I think there's even a few independents in there.
Oh, great. All right, let's just turn to the TV ratings now, the TV sector. These are the ratings for week 40, free-to-air top 10 first, and we're just seeing the...
end of the footy season there, yeah.
Absolutely, an X Factor for 7, reaching the pointy end of the show. And
still a few weeks to go, don't get too carried.
Just turning to the rest of the top 10 there as well.
Yeah, it's all news and current affairs, isn't it?
And to subscription TV, we've got the top 5, or this is the top 10, including
we've dropped that. We've stopped breaking right now. We're into summer, but it's, again, it's interesting, isn't it? So cricket's made a bit of a comeback there. Not domestic, it's international, and the A-League. Big weekend, start of the A-League, and 2 shows in the top 5.
Just quickly, we had some interesting data out about the way people are watching TV out during the week. What did it find? Well,
it was sort of there was 2 sort of big findings. One from the sort of people who put together the TV ratings, Oztam and their partners. One from ACMA again about watching online. TV is still king. People love their big screens, and it's still the place they go. But 19% of homes have a tablet device, and that's growing pretty quickly off a small base, but that's going to become the way of the future, if you like. Online video, a lot more, that's growing pretty quickly too. Again, it's off a small base. But half the people who are using online said, look, they're prepared to pay for content they like. So it's not all people jumping on YouTube looking for free sort of dancing cat videos.
Okay. As well, just looking to at where it's consumed, and ACMA was saying, or the ACMA was saying that certainly mostly laptops at the moment, online video.
Absolutely, yeah, 20% of TVs, so that's interesting. So people connecting their internet-connected TVs or feeding it through from their tablet or something. So yeah, so that is something's growing too. Again, it's still pretty small, but these figures, we'll see them each year. They'll start to creep up, and it'll start to become an important part of the sector.
All right, James, as always, thank you so much for that.
Thanks, bro.
James Manning there, editor and publisher of Mediaweek. That's all we've got time for from the team here. Thanks for your company.